Want to take a look behind the scenes at The Mandalorian? Well, Disney Plus has you covered with a new show on Disney Plus, and I just watched the first episode and I'm ready to talk about it with you after the intro. Well, hello there. My name's Jeremy and welcome back to Freeform Disney, where I talk about all aspects of Disney, from the animated movies to the theme parks to Star Wars, Marvel, and Pixar, and the TV shows, and everything else in between. And that is why it's Freeform. And keep coming back every day for new daily content. If you're not subscribed yet, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. First off, happy Star Wars Day, everyone, and may the 4th be with you. Today we're looking at Disney's latest Star Wars show over on Disney Plus, and it's called Disney Gallery Star Wars The Mandalorian. It's going to be an 8-part behind-the-scenes look at The Mandalorian, which was an amazing show. If you haven't seen The Mandalorian yet, go see that before watching this show. You certainly don't want to watch the behind-the-scenes before watching the show. That just is odd. I mean, maybe there's somebody that does that. Certainly not me. I mean, heck, the Force was strong with The Mandalorian, and you should see it if you haven't. You will see The Mandalorian. You will see it. Anyway, Disney has told us that each of the 8 episodes for this documentary behind the scenes will focus on a different aspect of the show. The first one is titled Directing, and it's all about the directors. And we do have some info on the next 3. The second one will be Legacy and is apparently going to look at the impact of Star Wars. And then the third one will bring in the actors and is titled Cast. And the fourth one is titled Technology and is expected to look at such things as the impressive stagecraft technology. As you can see in the images, a giant encircling, highly detailed matte painting that is like digital and able to move with the action so that it looks like a real background. Pretty cool. We're yet to hear what the final 4 episodes will be. Now, each episode is going to be brought to life apparently with interviews, behind-the-scenes footage, and some roundtable conversations with the show's creator, Jon Favreau, hosting the other people around. If you love The Mandalorian, and you love behind-the-scenes content and talking about how shows and movies are made, well, then you're probably going to love this too, just like me. So, how about that first episode on directing? Well, we got to see all 5 of the directors for the show, and that was Dave Filoni, Deborah Chow, Rick Famuyiwa, Bryce Dallas Howard, and Taika Waititi. Now, 3 of them directed 2 episodes each, and the other 2 directed 1 episode each for the show. So we went ahead and had every one of them talk a fair bit about their own part of the process. I mean, a fair bit given that it's a half-hour long in total, so not that long each. Dave Filoni got a good-sized section talking all about how much of a Star Wars fan he is, how he's kind of the Star Wars guru on set when it comes to it, with tons of Star Wars knowledge. And also, he talked about his story about how he first came to work on Clone Wars, when he was back working on Avatar: The Last Airbender, and how he thought the whole thing was a whole big prank phone call, and he was reacting to the whole thing with attitude in his voice at the time because he thought, obviously, people were just pulling a prank on him because he's such a Star Wars fan at the time. And I mean, that was a great story. Go watch that if you haven't seen it yet. Definitely a fun one to hear. And heck, this is actually Dave Filoni's first time really working with live action, so that was interesting as well. We moved on to Deborah Chow and talked about how she's very pre-planned, very much makes use of every bit of her time, how she comes from a fantasy and sci-fi background in her directing, and how that's eventually moved her to bigger things, and eventually over here to Mandalorian too. When we talked about Rick Famuyiwa, we went ahead and saw that he's another Star Wars fan. He's clearly got a much more laid-back style in how he goes about his directing. And so he was interesting to look at too. And then there was Bryce Dallas Howard, who, yes, the famous Howard last name right there to be sure, and who I recognized from some of her acting for that matter. Whether we're talking Jurassic World or, say, the Nosedive episode of Black Mirror. And she's a little more fresh to doing some of this directing. She's directed some shorts before this, but not a whole lot. And comes at it especially from an acting background, so she's much more of an actor's director than necessarily some of the other directors are. And then, of course, we went ahead and talked to Taika Waititi, especially at the end portion. And, well, Taika Waititi is Taika Waititi. Fun, energetic, a little bit crazy, and, of course, laid back, too. And he also talked about his early time and early movies when he was having to scrape everything together just to get anything to work. as opposed to the giant budgets he's worked with lately. And it was neat to go ahead and talk with each of those directors and really see the differences in each of their directing styles, which we didn't get to see all of that. I mean, we only had a few minutes to talk to each one as a whole, really. But still, you got pieces of what those different directing styles were, whether we're talking about somebody that's more of an actor's director, somebody that's more laid back, or somebody that's very meticulous and uses every bit of the time, or whether you're the person that everybody asks whatever Star Wars question they have because you know tons of Star Wars. And let's see, Jon Favreau hosting. I don't think Jon Favreau did the greatest job hosting. I think he's a little new to it, to be frank. But hey, his presence might have also helped put the others at ease, though, even if he's not the greatest at prompting questions and really getting those kinds of Q&A during the roundtable section. And as the show's creator, I think it's definitely valuable to have him in there. And one other thing that was nice about the director's scene was really the group as a whole and seeing the camaraderie that was present between all of them, too. Rather than thinking of them all as just completely separate entities, just directing their own episode, there was much more of a group mentality there, really in how they went about working on The Mandalorian, making sure it's all working together, which is good. We want one cohesive whole, even if all the directors have their own power to do their piece of it. So personally, I love behind-the-scenes stuff and seeing how movies and shows are made. I've partaken in acting, directing, and other behind-the-scenes roles, and I have a love for all of the different roles that are involved. And it doesn't take away any magic for me to see how things are made. It never has taken away magic for me. Whether we're talking about movies, shows, theater performances, even the Disney parks. So I love seeing behind-the-scenes content on movies and shows I love, and I've seen tons of behind-the-scenes content on Star Wars, too. So I'm only too happy to have this documentary series to go ahead and see more behind-the-scenes stuff, and I'm looking forward to the next 7 episodes. Oh, and I certainly haven't missed that the main title of this series is Disney Gallery. It's not Behind-the-Scenes Mandalorian Documentary. It's Disney Gallery, then Star Wars The Mandalorian. So that makes me hope for a series that will go behind the scenes of other shows and movies in the future, too. Imagine that might be based on how well this does. And who knows, maybe behind certain Disney parks, too? That's always possible. Here's hoping, right? Well, what about you? Have you seen this first episode? Did you love it? Do you have a favorite Mandalorian director in there? And if you could pitch a new Disney Gallery on a different topic, what would your pitch be? Let me know down below in the comments. And thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a like and share it with your friends. And come back tomorrow for another new episode of Freeform Disney. And if you haven't done it yet, click that subscribe button and ring the bell. As always, have a magical day, and may the Force be with you. Always.